You ever hear a sound that just makes your skin crawl, even before your brain's caught up to what's going on? That's how this whole thing started for me. A growl, so low and cold, it didn't sound like it came from any regular dog. Ranger, my partner in crime fighting in life, retired DA K9, still all muscle and nerves, stood dead still at the end of my hallway, eyes locked on the kitchen door like he knew something rotten was about to crawl out of the dark. I'm telling you, if you ever doubt a dog's sense for evil, you haven't met a dog like Ranger. Now, it was one of those sticky summer nights, air so thick you could chew it, and suddenly I catch a whiff of something so sharp and chemical it actually stung. Unnatural, like a warning sign you can't ignore. I moved in slow, flashlight in one hand, the other reaching for the old Louisville Slugger by the coat rack. Beam lands on a figure hunched by my kitchen counter, someone in a pink bathrobe. They're shaking some white powder over a slab of raw steak. For a second, she didn't even notice me. Then Ranger's growl shifted, a sound I'd only ever heard him use on real monsters. That's when she spun around, eyes wild, and I realize, no way, it's Karen Jensen, queen of the Oak Ridge Estates, HOA herself. I swear she shrieked like a banshee, sent a chair flying, dropped the steak right there on my kitchen floor. Ranger barked once, deep and sharp, and she shot out the back door, so fast her slippers barely kept up, yard lights flaring like she'd set off an alarm. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't some weirdo break-in. This was my neighbor trying to poison a federal K9. Let me back up a sec, because you're probably thinking this all sounds like some B-movie script. Trust me, it was just life out here in Oak Ridge, where neighbors wave at you mostly to make sure you're following the rules. See, after 20 years busting doors and wrangling cartel punks for the DEA's K9 unit, I thought I'd earn some peace. Got myself a little red brick house, corner lot, quiet street. Figured Ranger and I both deserved it. He's not just any dog. He's my partner. 6 years old, German Shepherd, eyes that see through more than just fences. Together, we'd worked hard enough to earn lazy mornings patrolling our own fence line and afternoons dozing on the porch. That's about the time Karen first introduced herself, strutting over in a pink blazer, smile loaded and clipboard even heavier. Lovely dog. Is he safe? She asked, eyeing Ranger service tag. I smiled back, all sweet as pie, and said, safer than most folks around here. She didn't love that answer. We have community standards, Mr. Harris. Large dogs can be intimidating. You know the type, right? Smile never quite reaches the eyes, always reading you, looking for a weakness. I nodded in that way that means sure, but actually means over my dead body. Ranger just stretched out and yawned at her feet. I knew, right then, this wasn't going to end with a plate of welcome brownies. Sure enough, not even a week later, first HOA violation showed up. Unauthorized structure, K9 kennel. Then a noise complaint, animal disturbance, except Ranger hadn't made a peep. I almost framed that one. But Karen doesn't drop things. She runs this place like a one-woman cartel. Every blade of grass the same height, every mailbox painted the same shade, every smile as sharp as a thumbtack. Her husband Gary now, he's the quiet one. Too many polite smiles, eyes that don't blink. He runs Jensen Logistics, white semis with no company logos, always coming and going at weird hours. I try to stay out of their business. Retirement's supposed to be about coffee, reading the paper, pretending you care about the weather. Ranger, though, he noticed things I didn't. Every time those big trucks rolled past, he'd patrol the fence, nose twitching, tail stiff. Then one night, Gary parks his van just a little too close to my drive. Ranger lets out a bark, just one, short and businesslike. Karen storms out, yelling, "Control that beast!" And I just about told her the story of how Ranger once sniffed out 5 kilos of heroin inside a gas tank, but figured, why waste my breath? Letters kept coming. Porch light too bright, trash cans visible, your dog looks aggressive through the fence. All signed, warm regards, Karen Jensen, HOA president. I kept my cool, best as I could. When you've been undercover in a drug house for 3 days, you learn patience, especially with Karens. But then came her emergency HOA meeting, half the neighborhood out there in folding chairs, lemonade in hand, and Karen projecting blurry photos of Ranger on a portable screen, calling him a menace to the community. I laughed so loud I swear I got every evil eye on the block. Walked up, coffee in hand, Ranger at my side, and said, "Ranger's a retired federal canine, licensed protected under service animal law. You can't just vote him out." Karen's face twisted. Maybe animal control will have something to say. And I noticed Gary's brother Ethan, lurking by the pickup, arms crossed, jaw tight, eyes darting. Seen his type before, tough talk, but never lasts when things get real. Not long after, Ranger barked 3 times, his chemical alert code. I stepped out back, got a whiff of something strange drifting from the Jensen's garage, chemical, almost metallic. Weird, but not technically illegal. Then, a few days later, my backyard gates left open. Not broken, just unlatched. Ranger's sitting alert, tail stiff, eyes locked on a half-eaten hamburger in the grass. I bagged it, sent it off to a vet buddy, and the results came back. Antifreeze. Lethal to dogs. That's when the joke stopped being funny. After that, I started treating my own house like a crime scene. Cameras, night vision, motion sensors replaced every lock. Even Ranger's collar got an upgrade. GPS and a mic. Karen saw me doing all this, called out, "Feeling paranoid, are we?" I shrugged, told her, better prepared than sorry. She muttered, "Some dogs just don't belong here." Next morning, I see her whispering to Ethan and Gary, all 3 grinning like they'd already won something. That night, the chemical smell came back. Ranger picked it up first. I checked the monitors, saw a pink silhouette sneaking across my lawn. Karen Jensen herself, flashlight in her mouth, Ziploc bag in hand. I hit record and watched her sprinkle white powder over a steak and slip it through my kitchen door. Ranger moved, no barking, just that silent stalk he used on real criminals. One low growl, and Karen froze. She dropped the steak, stumbled, and when I burst in, Ranger barked so loud the whole block probably heard. Karen bolted, tripped over my hose, went face first into the mud. Ranger never touched her, didn't need to. He's all authority, no violence. "Call him off," she shrieked. And I said, "He already did." She ran home, shouting, "You'll regret this." Next morning, everyone in Oak Ridge was buzzing. Sun shining, kids riding bikes, sprinklers hissing, and everyone peeking, whispering about Karen caught red-handed on Mrs. Henderson's Ring camera. By sunrise, the story was all over Facebook. HOA president caught trespassing. That dog deserves a medal. Karen tried to spin it, claimed she thought she heard my dog crying, or that she thought I had a burglar. By lunchtime, she was somehow the hero who'd prevented a fire hazard. And yet, a new HOA letter showed up. Aggressive animal incident pending review, complete with a zoomed-in photo of Ranger's teeth. I laughed, but deep down I knew Karen was done playing by the rules. That night, I walked the property line, found faint shoe prints coming from the Jensen place. Gary out washing his truck, pretending not to see me. Later, I heard the HOA having an emergency meeting in Karen's garage. Dangerous animal, lawsuit, public relations nightmare. Then Ethan's voice, "If that dog keeps sniffing around, we got bigger problems." That sent a chill through me. I headed straight for the sheriff's office. Detective Laura Pike, old friend, sharp as a tack, listened to everything. She raised an eyebrow. "You think this is more than just HOA drama?" I nodded. That poison wasn't for barking complaints. I told her about Jensen logistics, how things didn't add up. She looked skeptical, but she trusted my gut. That night, a white van rolled up at the Jensens. Gary and Ethan loading plain boxes, sealed tight. Ranger at the window, nose twitching. I filmed the whole thing. Next morning, Karen came storming over, accusing me of assault. I said, "You mean the night you broke into my house and tried to poison my dog?" She threatened to call the county. 2 hours later, animal control showed up, anonymous complaint. I handed them Ranger's federal credentials and the video of Karen's little break-in. They left apologizing, and suddenly the whole neighborhood was split. Half of them cheering for Ranger, half scared of what Karen would try next. I started combing security footage like a man possessed. Saw Ethan carrying a barrel labeled corrosive hazard. Gary locking himself in the garage, gloves stained gray. Laura called me after seeing the clips, voice sharp. That's a chemical used in meth production. They need solvents like that for cooking. So the poison was just part of their stock. Things got real fast. A few nights later, a crash jolted me awake at 2 a.m. Smoke was pouring out of the Jensen garage. Ranger barking his head off. I rushed out, called 911. Gary was outside, frantic. Karen next to him, mascara running down her face. Ethan was gone. Laura showed up, said, "We're opening a full investigation. Your dog just found probable cause." Next morning, yellow tape everywhere. Karen stayed inside. Ranger wouldn't go near the fence, kept his hackles up. Laura promised a warrant. Ranger will show us where to start. And by then, I knew this wasn't about HOA politics anymore. It was about covering up a criminal operation, hiding it behind perfectly trimmed lawns and HOA newsletters. 3 nights later, Karen showed up again, cautious, dressed in black this time, hair still shellacked like she was going to prom. She crept up to my porch, poured white powder on a steak, and hissed, "No more barking. No more snooping. Open the door." Ranger watched her, tail rigid. One growl and she froze. I stepped out, said, "He already is." Karen realized she was cornered, me on one side, Ranger on the other. She tried to stammer out an excuse. "I was just checking for a leak," but I nodded at the cameras. "They'll handle the proof." She bolted, slipped, tore across the lawn, yelling, "He attacked me." But neighbors were already watching. Porch lights flicked on, phones in hand. Police showed up fast. They watched the footage, every second of her break-in and poison attempt. Cuffed her right there in my yard. One deputy looked at Ranger and said, "That animal just saved your life." That's irony for you. Turn out, the investigation blew the whole thing open. Chemical trafficking, invoices run through the HOA, barrels labeled as maintenance supplies. Squad cars rolled up, and the Jensen's dream of suburban empire came crashing down. Ranger sat beside me on the porch, tail thumping. Laura grinned. "Your dog just cracked open a federal case." For the first time in a long time, it felt like justice was actually winning. Local paper ran headlines. Hero K9 sniffs out drug ring. HOA president's plot backfires. Even the county sheriff pinned a medal on Ranger's collar for valor beyond the call of duty. Meant nothing to him, though. To Ranger, it was just another day, another walk, maybe a few extra treats from Mrs. Henderson, who started bringing biscuits every Sunday. Karen pleaded out, trespassing, obstruction, conspiracy. Gary and Ethan got hauled off on federal charges. The HOA crumbled. The sign came down. Jensen Place got locked up for auction. Even the mailman started bringing jerky treats for Ranger. Funny how people change when the masks come off. Laura still drops by, half to check the case, half just for coffee. One day she looked at Ranger and asked, "You ever think about bringing him back to active duty?" I shook my head. He's earned his retirement, and so have I. She laughed. "Fair enough. Don't be surprised if his story goes statewide." "Let it," I said. "He's better at PR than any of us." When the county held a ceremony, kids lined up waving flags, mayor pinning the medal, the crowd cheering. And for the first time, Oak Ridge felt like a real neighborhood again, one where the truth finally mattered more than the rules. Karen's old HOA handbook sits under Ranger's medal now, coffee-stained, a reminder that power and authority aren't the same thing. Karen never understood that, but Ranger did. Instincts, not titles, keep a place honest. So, here's what I learned. Evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it wears a pink bathrobe and signs its name president. But no matter how carefully people try to hide their poison, the truth always leaves a scent. And Ranger, well, he'll always be the first to find it. If you take anything from this story, let it be this. Loyalty doesn't just protect, it reveals. Ranger didn't save me because he was trained to. He did it because he trusted me. And in a world full of masks and motives, that's rare. Sometimes justice doesn't come from a courtroom or a badge, but from standing your ground and doing what's right when nobody's watching. So, let me ask, what would your dog do if someone like Karen came sneaking into your kitchen at midnight? Drop a comment, hit that subscribe, and share where you're watching from. The world could use a few more noses like Rangers, don't you think?